Hey guys, what's going on? XD here back again with another video. Today's Mandela Day. I hope y'all are doing well. Let me know down below how you're spending your 67 minutes, and also drop a like for Utata down below. In today's video, I'm going to be going through some mixing of the tribal track that I made yesterday. If you didn't check it out, you don't have to explain where you were. Just go check out the video and then come back to this one. But yeah, this is where we are so far with the track. Let me just bring out the windows and just play it back for you. Okay, so that's where we are today. So now we're going to be doing some mixing. And firstly, what I want to tackle first is the mixer arrangement. I feel like it's easier for you to mix if you can know where everything is. So we're going to try work on some order. I know it's very tedious. It takes some time, but that's something you really need to do so that you don't confuse yourself in terms of when you're starting to do bussing and all of that. So let me just play the drums on their own, and I'll just come here to kick, and I'll just make sure I assign it to kick. Everything else has a good name, so I'll leave it as is. And the E flute is my bass, so I'll just also label that as bass. In actual fact, let me actually drag an empty clip down to this side, close to the drum side, so that I can bus. So what I'm doing is I'm pressing Control and Shift so that I can select. There we go. So I've selected number 6. Number 6 is my empty channel, where there's nothing assigned to that track. That's the one where everything else of my drums is going to go into. So that's basically my drum bus. So I'm going to right click on it and go to track routing, and I'm going to say create submix. Then on this submix, I'm just going to come here and select drum mix. So now all the drums are going to be going into this one channel. So I can just give it like a really unique color so it stands out and I can see what it is. I'll just give it this really bright yellow so it stands out. So what I also like to do with these buses, if I don't like them to be in here, I can just say dock to, and I can dock it to the right, and then it's here. So I'll know everything that is here is going to be coming into, this side. So you can do that, or you can leave it there as well, but I'm just going to dock it to the side so that I can play around with them. So now we have all our drums assigned there. I feel like maybe we might be missing a couple of other drums that are over here as well, but we'll get to those in a bit. These ones are not sent anywhere. I'll also send those. Then what I can do with these, I'll just come here and I'll say, click on this little icon over here, and I'll say route to this track only. The other one as well, route to this track only. Then I'll select these two and just bring them back into the group with the other tracks as well, so that I know that all of these are drums. You see, if I mute, all my drums are out. Okay, I can see that there's other drums that are not in this group. Okay, let me find those. Okay, so this Josh Pan bongo. Also route that to this track only. Let me send that over. There we go. And this clap as well. That's a really long tail. You must always look out for these long tails, because I've noticed that when you're trying to render out your track, if a sample has this long tail here, it affects your render time. It actually renders longer when you have these long empty tails with just silence. So you also need to fix that if you can. Sometimes it might be reverb, but for the most part it won't be. You don't need your sample to play that long, because you're gonna add reverb anyways, so there's no point in it. Okay, so there's no more drums playing on their own, but I have a loop here that I'm just gonna also assign to a track, and then I'm also gonna send it to this channel as well. There we go. And I'm gonna also move it to this side. So it's always good to have some order in your channels. Let me see if I can color these. Change color. Okay, I'll just turn them all yellow. Okay, cool. Turn them all yellow, and then they'll be following this one. Look at me point with my finger. Forgetting you guys can't see this. Okay, Here we go. Now we move on to the next pattern. We have these two sounds. We have that piano sound and the kalimba. So let's see if that's actually okay. That's a kalimba, yes. I was confused with marimba. Kalimba. And I'll give this a brown color. Don't ask me why. And we got our bass. I like my bass to be blue. Yeah, and that one doesn't really matter what color it is. Oh wait. Okay. Okay, so that's our high string. Okay, now let's jump into the mixing because I can spend all day arranging everything. But you know, that's something you guys get the gist. That's something you need to do to make sure that everything is in order. You know, and you know when you're working just on the mixer, you don't have to keep going back and forth trying to see what sound is which. You can already tell. So now I just want to work on the drums only. So at this point, I want my volume on my headphones to be really loud, or if you have using monitors, you need them to be at least at a decent loudness, so that you can start to bring everything back down to where it's supposed to be. Like I can already see my kick is around -8, and that's okay. And here on my master bus, I can see I'm reaching about -4, so I need to turn some of these sounds down. So I'm just going to bring down my kick. Just make sure that this shake is slightly lower than my kick. Let's move on to the clap. This other clap is really nice and loud and much more shinier and dominant in the highs more than this first clap. So that's why I'm putting it a little bit lower. Now we're gonna move to this sound as well, to this perk. So as you can see, everything that I'm bringing down, I'm bringing it behind the kick so that my kick stays prominent. So this is how you get a powerful kick. You need everything else to be kind of lower than the kick. You don't want sounds to be hitting much harder than the kick. You need everything to be kind of behind the kick. That's how you can mix properly in order for your kick to always be standing out of your mix. I know right now it sounds really low, it doesn't sound loud, but when I get to the to the mastering stage, when I bring everything up with compression and everything is playing together, you'll see that the kick will stand out and it will be nice and loud. So right now I'm not worried about loudness of the overall mix. I'm just hoping for clarity, and I haven't even started to add any effects yet. This is just basic mixing and gain staging. Hoodie. It's really cold out here in Cape Town, yo. I think that sounds good. Oh, we're actually missing another clap. Clap number 2. Okay, let me bring you back. Okay, so that's our clap. That's semi-clap, semi-crash. Okay, that's fine down there. Then we have this vocal. I'm gonna just leave this vocal as is. I'm not gonna send it to the drum bus. I'll just say chant, and I'll just label it maybe a green color like that. I'll just raise some of its highs. Now let me add this kalimba. And I can see here on the level, here in Purity, it's not clipping. So I'll just drag the level down slightly just to make sure it doesn't clip. So that's the difference between drum samples and proper VST sounds. When you gain staging with these, you need to go to the plugin itself where the output is and lower the volume there. Because if your output on your VST is clipping, and then you're going to try and turn it down in the mixer, you're going to be doing the gain staging wrong. You need to come here and actually turn it down, and then you can have a bit more headroom here in the mix. Okay, that's another shaker. I'll just also send it over here. I'll just loop this area where everything is playing so that I can hear everything. I'll just bring back some of the lows here in the kalimba, some of the low end, and just leave this boosted mid-range. Now let me bring in the string. Just let it be in the background. Lower that shaker. Now for the keys. Just lower the hardness of the keys to make them a bit softer. So I want these keys to be much more wider. So for FL Studio, I usually use the effect. I use what you call this stereo expander, stereo enhancer, and I pick for strings. Without it, with it. It spreads the sound out nicely, or I can use the Waves doubler too. And they have a lot of nice presets inside here. I usually use this one when I'm doing a lot of mixing. I can choose, maybe I'll just use one of these. I'll choose maybe an acoustic guitar wide. What I love about this plugin is that you can mess around with the settings over here and choose placement of the stereo information, and you also have an EQ here, so you can EQ what you're working with in this plugin as well, and you can also play with the phasing over here as well, with the delay times of the stereo information that you're working with. Okay, so this sound was kind of a drone sound that I had used. And as you can hear, it's moving around. It has a little bit of like a chorus effect And that is fine because I don't want it to stay in the middle because it will clash with my bass. So I'm just going to lower the low side a little bit and the highs as well, so that is more dominant in the mid-range. Then I'll add the bass. Just lower my bass. Now I can hear that some of my bass notes are actually not working with this sound. Let me go back into the bass. Much better. So now for the bass, I like to use R Bass by Waves. It adds a lot of nice low end, like really heavy rumble into your bass. So I can pick maybe something here by Dave Pensado bass. Just lower the intensity. And then what I'm gonna do is, before this, I'm gonna add some distortion, like a little bit of distortion. I'll just add a little bit of fast dist and just lower the threshold a little bit so that it's not too much. Just add a little bit of body to this. Okay, now let me play the bass without this. Let me just raise the volume up so you can hear it. That's without processing. Now this is with processing. You can hear it has a little bit of a buzz to it. That's what we were trying to add some of those harmonics in the mid range, just to give a little bit more spread and more body. Now let me play it back against the other sound. Just lower it a bit so it's not too much. Now all together now. That sounds much better. That sounds much better than it did the first time. If you remember how it was sounding, everything is much more defined. Everything is much more clear and transparent. So if I just want to make this louder, quick for you guys to hear clearly, I'll just come and add a limiter. I'll add maybe an L2 and just raise. So that's basically how you can mix this without having to put any heavy effects. It's just leveling that you want to do. So you want to do a round of basic leveling and gain staging to your track. And then later on, then you can go in and refine your sounds with EQing, compression, and, you know, side chaining if you're going to side chain. Like this kick, I would love to side chain it with my bass and also side chain with everything that is in this track. You know what, let me rather show you what I mean by that. So what I would do is I would send all my other sounds, right, like everything else, will accept the chant. Everything else to a track. I'll just send them to a track and just bus them. I love using buses because they... Okay, what did I do just now? Okay, let me do that again. Let me just move this chant out of the way. Select all these. Just track routing, create submix. Now just say synth bus. Then I'll just make this one maybe a pink. There we go. So I'm gonna also dock this to the right. Now that it's docked to the right, all my synth sounds are now on this one side. So what I can do with this is that I can do anything I want with all my synth sounds. So if I'm to add maybe an EQ, I can add an EQ just to control the overall sound of all these. So I can just drop down the lows just to give the bass more dominance. And maybe just EQ some of the mid-range out, lift some of the high mid. And if I want to EQ, I can just add maybe an SSL compressor. Well, not this one. SSL comp stereo. Just to catch the tops that this kalimba is dropping in. Switch off analog. Raise the attack. Okay, my bass is also being sent there. I didn't want to send my bass, so I'll just exclude my bass from out of here. And just select everything. Let me send my bass to the master. Because you must always remember that all these other sounds that we have here have information from the low end, which is the bass, to the high side as well. So coming here to the bus of all my synths and taking down some of the the low end, frequencies gives room for the bass and the kick to come in much harder without me having to sidechain or do anything, But I just want to sidechain the bass and the kick only without sidechaining the rest of my other sounds. So let me do that quickly. So now let me create a sidechain track. I'll just say sidechain. So this is going to be my sidechain track, and I'll add a green. There we go, I'll make it green. Then I'll just send the kicks information to the sidechain. So if I come here and right click, I'll just say sidechain to this track. So now it's just sending, you see this, this line over here, down here, that is kind of faded. It shows that it's sidechaining to it. It's not sending the audio signal there, but it's only sending its image, the image of the kick to that channel. So now my bass is going to be sidechain, is going to be routed to this track only. So it's going to be going into the sidechain and then going out to the master bus. So now here on the sidechain, I can just add my FL Studio, limiter. There we go. And then I'm going to come here to comp. So now you can see there's the bass. Let me just select sidechain the kick. So we have our noise gate and we have our limiter and we have all these other settings that we have here. So we just right here on comp, lower my threshold. Just raise that ratio a bit. Lower my threshold again. You can start to hear the sidechaining happening. So you can raise the release if you want the kick to sidechain for longer. So you can actually start to hear the fading in and out in the bass. I'm just going to lower the attack to be quick. So I don't want this to be too much, so I'm just going to leave the release, you know, to be quick and not so. I don't want when the bass is playing with the kick to be, you know, really out there and really noticeable that I'm doing some sidechain. Raise the sustain a little bit. Let's raise the threshold. And there you have it. There's a sidechain. Now let's play everything. So there you have it, guys. That was me mixing some tribal house. I hope you enjoyed that. I know mixing can take a really long time to get to understand and to get to know these things, but if you put all these tips together and put all of them one by one into practice, learn your side chaining, learn your gain staging, learn placements of sound in the stereo field, and just give yourself time to learn all these techniques one by one, so that when you're making a track and you start to get into mixing, you can be able to put all this knowledge that you have together into one powerful thing and one powerful workflow that's going to help you in your music. So if you found this really helpful, leave a like down below. Let me know down below what you think about this way of mixing. How do you mix your own track? And I'm gonna check you guys out in my next video, guys. I'm X and I'm out. Peace.